Let me start with a confession. Let's be real for a second. Most people think they know what happens in lesbian relationships. They imagine it's either asterisk perfect, emotional, drama-free love asterisk, or they reduce it to stereotypes that completely miss the point. But here's the truth. What really happens in lesbian relationships is a lot deeper, a lot more complex, and honestly, a lot more human than people expect. And today, we're going to talk about it. The emotional intensity, the communication, the challenges, the intimacy, the boundaries, all of it. Because most people don't talk about this, and they should. So let's start with the big misconception. There's this idea that lesbian relationships are somehow easier because both partners are women, more understanding, more emotional, less conflict. Sounds nice, right? But here's the truth. No relationship is easy just because of gender. In fact, lesbian relationships often involve more asterisk emotional awareness, which can be incredible, but also means emotions run deeper, faster, and sometimes heavier. You're not just dealing with love, you're dealing with identity, vulnerability, social pressure, and sometimes even internalized fear or shame. So instead of being easier, these relationships can be asterisk, intensely real asterisk. Let's talk about emotional depth. Here's something people don't always expect. Lesbian relationships often move quickly on an emotional level. You connect, you open up, you feel seen in a way you might not have before, and suddenly it's deep, like asterisk, really asterisk deep. Let's be honest, when two people are both highly emotionally aware, conversations go beyond surface level pretty fast. You're talking about childhood, trauma, fears, desires, sometimes within days or weeks. That level of emotional intimacy can feel amazing, but it also requires emotional maturity. Because when things move fast emotionally, it's easy to confuse intensity with long-term compatibility, and that's where things can get complicated. Now let's talk about communication. This is one of the strongest and most defining parts of lesbian relationships. Here's the truth. Communication tends to be more open, more detailed, and more emotionally expressive. But that doesn't mean it's always healthy. Sometimes over-communication can turn into over-analysis. Every text gets dissected, every tone gets questioned. Why did she say it like that? Is she pulling away? Did I do something wrong? Sound familiar? Emotional intelligence is powerful, but without boundaries, it can turn into emotional overwhelm. So the real skill here isn't just communicating, it's knowing asterisk, when to pause asterisk, when to trust, and when not to spiral. Let's talk about conflict, because yes, conflict exists. And here's something people don't say enough. When both partners are emotionally aware, arguments aren't always loud, but they can be intense. Instead of shouting, it might look like withdrawal, over-explaining, or emotional shutdown. Sometimes both people are trying to be understood so deeply that they forget to listen. And that's the key. Healthy conflict isn't about who expresses more. It's about who listens better. Now let's get into something really important. Boundaries, because this is where a lot of lesbian relationships either thrive or fall apart. When emotional intimacy is strong, it's easy to blur the lines. You start sharing everything, spending all your time together, becoming each other's entire world, and at first, it feels romantic. But here's the truth. Without boundaries, closeness turns into emotional dependency. And that's not love, that's pressure. Healthy relationships need space for individuality, space for friendship, space to grow outside the relationship. Because the strongest connections aren't built on asterisk, losing yourself asterisk in someone else. They're built on choosing each other while still being whole on your own. Let's talk about physical intimacy. And no, we're not going into anything explicit, but we are going to talk about something important. Lesbian relationships often challenge traditional ideas about intimacy. There's less focus on performance and more focus on connection. Touch, communication, understanding your partner's needs. It's all more intentional. But here's what matters most. Consent and communication are everything. Just because there's emotional closeness doesn't mean assumptions should replace conversations. What feels good, what doesn't, what are your boundaries? These are conversations that build trust, not kill the mood. In fact, they create safety. And safety is what allows real intimacy to exist. Now let's bring in the modern reality. Social media and digital behavior. Because yes, this plays a role, a big one. When you're emotionally invested, things like who they follow, who likes their posts, who they message, can suddenly feel very personal. And here's the truth. It's not about being jealous or insecure. It's about clarity and boundaries. What's okay online? What feels disrespectful? What crosses a line? Every relationship is different. But the mistake people make is not talking about it. They assume, they guess, they react. Instead of just asking directly, Clear communication about digital boundaries can save you from unnecessary stress, confusion, and conflict. Let's talk about real-life scenarios. Imagine this, you meet someone, the connection is instant. You talk for hours every day. Within a month, you feel like you've known each other forever. You start spending all your time together. Friends fade into the background. Your routines change. Your world becomes them. And then one day, something feels off. Maybe they need space. Maybe you do. But now space feels like rejection. Distance feels like loss. And suddenly, something that felt perfect becomes overwhelming. This is more common than people admit, and it doesn't mean the relationship is broken. It just means it grew fast without structure. So what actually makes a lesbian relationship healthy? Let's break it down. First, communication, but balanced. Say what you feel, but don't overanalyze everything. Second, boundaries. Emotional closeness doesn't mean losing independence. Third, self-awareness. Know your triggers, your patterns, your fears. Don't expect your partner to fix what you haven't faced. Fourth, respect. Not just in big ways, but small ones too. Time, attention, honesty, it all matters. And finally, patience. Real connection isn't just about intensity. It's about consistency. Here's the truth most people don't talk about. Lesbian relationships aren't perfect. They're not magically easier. They're not drama-free. But they are deeply emotional, deeply connected, and often incredibly intentional. And when done right, they can teach you so much about communication, empathy, and what it really means to love someone as a whole person . So if you take anything from this, let it be this. Don't chase intensity, chase understanding. Don't confuse closeness with dependency. And don't be afraid to have the conversations that actually matter. Because at the end of the day, healthy love, no matter who it's between, is built on respect, honesty, and emotional awareness. If this made you think a little differently, or helped you understand relationships on a deeper level, make sure you like the video, subscribe, and stick around. Because we're having the conversations, most people are still too uncomfortable to start, and trust me, there's a lot more to talk about.